Radio of, for, and by we the working people. The Rick Smith Show. Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So it looks like Liz Cheney done for all intent and purposes in GOP leadership land. And I got to tell you, I care even less today than I did yesterday, which was not at all. Because this is a Republican thing. This is their deal. Let them deal with their issues. Same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Democrats shouldn't have gotten involved in it. We've got our own problems. We've got our own things that got to be done. But here to share some thoughts on the Liz Cheney situation. Should they have booted? Should they boot her? Should she be okay? I've asked our good friend Joe Walsh to come talk with us, former Republican congressman from Illinois and also former presidential candidate, host of the F Silence podcast. You can find that at fsilencepodcast.com. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
Happy birthday, young man. Good to be with you.
Thank you, my kind sir. I'll have another one next year. So so Liz Cheney, does it matter that she's being booted from leadership? I know some people are jumping on the bandwagon. No, we've got to save her because she's telling the quote unquote truth. Thoughts?
Liz Cheney, God bless her, is right. She's courageous, but Rick, she has no business being in Republican Party leadership. She publicly opposes the party leader. This is Trump's party. There's no room for Liz Cheney in this party. There's no room for me in this party.
Right.
So it makes sense from the Republicans' perspective.
So, because it's one of my two thoughts that, look, that's their party. Let them do with it what they have to do. That's not the Democrat. The Democrats shouldn't even be talking about this. That's their issue, their laundry. Let them either wash their laundry or go around stinking. I don't care. None of my business. But there's the other side of it that people are saying, look, she is right. She's telling the truth. She needs some backing. Do you agree with that at all?
No, well, look, I use Rick as a former lifelong Republican. I've been doing whatever I can do on TV and radio and the Twitter, trying to, back Liz Cheney and stand with her. But here's the reality. Look, this is Trump's party. Period. I get so tired of the bull crap on MSNBC and CNN. They pull these Republican consultants or these old Republican establishment people and they bemoan the divide in the Republican Party. There's no divide. There's no divide. There's no split. This is Trump's party. Liz Cheney is on the outside. I'm on the outside. That's the way it is.
So does she have to start her own party? Is this a moment for Mitt Romney, who claims that it's going to cost the Republicans votes by having this split? Is this a third party situation, or is it just so far down the road that you're just partyless?
No, people like me, and I think Liz Cheney is going to realize this sometime this year. We're homeless. I love you and I respect you, my brother, but I'm not a Democrat. Policy matters to me. We differ on policy. I don't have a home in the Democratic Party. I don't have a home in the Republican Party. I do think we're at a weird inflection point in American politics where there may be something new coming. But no, right now you got one party that's an authoritarian embracing cult. I'd rather be in the wilderness than belong to that thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing, I look at the Republican Party and I've been saying, this is who they've been for a very long time, even when you were in Congress. To be honest, I was not thrilled at the leadership style and the policies that you guys were moving forward. So this just seems to be the natural progression of magnifying it. Go ahead.
But stop, Rick. You said the key word there, policies. When I was in Congress as a Tea Party congressman, you and I disagreed and would have fought on policies. There's none of that now. It doesn't matter. Look, Liz Cheney's pretty damn conservative. Think about it, Rick. Think about how freaking bizarre this is. I'm an outspoken Tea Party conservative, and I have no place in that party. Liz Cheney is probably one of the most conservative Republicans in the House. She has no place in the party. Now it's got nothing to do with policies. It's all about kissing Donald Trump's feet.
And here's the weird part of this. I mean, Trump's what, 70 some years old? There's a chance that he's not going to be viable in 2024. So they've put a lot of eggs in a, and I don't wish the man harm. I hope he lives a long, miserable life. But are they putting all their eggs in an expiring basket?
Well, I do think, Rick, I think there's a decent chance he runs again. A. B, if he doesn't, this thing has metastasized beyond him. If not Trump, Rick, it's Trumpism. Look at down in Florida, Ron DeSantis. If you want to get elected to any office in this party, forget about Trump. If you want to get elected to any office, you have to embrace him. You have to embrace what Trumpism is. And Rick, it really doesn't have a lot to do with Trump. 80% of Republican Party voters believe the election was stolen. I hear from these people every day. I mean, it's about the voters, and these cowards in Congress like Kevin McCarthy and the rest. They know where Republican voters are at. That's why they bow and genuflect down at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, see, but here's where my mind goes. For me, it isn't a far stretch to getting Republicans to believe that the election was stolen, when for the last 40, 50 years, you've gotten them to believe some of the most wild ideas to begin with, like giving the wealthy all of the wealth that they could possibly want somehow is going to trickle down to the rest of us. Saying we can deregulate to the point that it's not going to kill jobs, but those people are going to be fine. There's a lot of these things that over the years have, to me, been unbelievable that Republicans have bought into full-hearty.
Well, you and I, my friend, could play this game of tit for tat.
And I agree.
What you're talking about are policies, and probably, in your view, extreme policies. The left and the Democrats, I could say, have theirs. But regardless, it's one thing to believe in a policy that you believe has been proven wrong. It's another thing to believe an outright lie that an American presidential election was stolen. That's a whole nother level of scary.
No, it is scary to me, and some of the stuff that I've been seeing coming out of Arizona is really just freaky. And I'm sure you've been following what's going on in Arizona with this idiotic recount or whatever it is. I don't know if it's a recount or what it is.
It's not, but Rick, you know what it is? It's manifest evidence that the Republican Party is a cult. Here we are 6 months after an election, and they're still auditing results. I mean, by definition, that's a cult. They just cannot. But here's the thing, Rick, and your listeners need to know this. I hear from thousands of Trump supporters every day. And I'm telling you, not just crazy red flag waving megaheads, very smart, reasonable Republicans believe the election was stolen. It's pervasive.
Is there any way to move beyond that? I mean, because look, I know a bunch of them as well. You're not going to tell them anything because they believe. They've always been the believe crowd. So once they believe something, you're never getting away with it, no matter how many facts you put in front of them. So is there a way past this, or is this just polluted water forever?
I think it's polluted water forever. I think the Republican Party, you and I have talked, I think it's a shrinking, dying national political party. Rick, I'll bet you the Republicans probably end up taking control of the House next year. If they don't, then they really blew it. But even if they do that, this is becoming a regional party. It's a party of old white men and old white women. And Rick, they're not replacing those voters. So it's a dying party.
So, it's my thought, based on, the census numbers and some of the shifting of congressional seats that are going on, that are going south, some of the gerrymandering that's out there, that I think it's potentially possible that Republicans could take the House and, potentially the Senate as well. So what does Biden do between now and then? He's got it. He's doing this thing where he's trying to reach out, and I think more because Joe Manchin is making them and trying to pitch this bipartisanship under the idea that we can be united again. I don't know that we're ever going to be a country that I remember as, we voted in the election, and 6 weeks later, we didn't talk about it anymore. We moved on until the next election came. Now it's 24/7, constantly 365. So your thoughts, I'm curious, does Biden give up on this whole we're going to reach across the aisle nonsense?
I think Biden keeps doing his thing, which is come across as reasonable and bipartisan, but then just go pedal to the metal and get what he can get these next 2 years. And I think, Rick, if he focuses on, and the polling shows this, issues people care about, right? Healthcare, jobs, the economy, roads, bridges, and that stuff. I mean, his poll numbers right now are incredible. If he focuses on issues the American people care about, and you got the wacky ass Republicans out there talking about cancel culture, Dr. Zeus, and still complaining about LeBron James, Joe Biden has a chance, I think, to defy history next year and keep the House.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to, do you get an infrastructure bill put through? I think if he gets an infrastructure bill, a good sizable, chunky infrastructure bill pushed through, that's going to get people back to work, make people's lives better, I think he's going to be okay. If we don't get something substantial in an infrastructure bill that's going to actually do the things and quickly that we need to do, I fear he's going to have problems.
Would you be okay, Rick, if he got a $700-800 billion, just the roads, bridges, the broadband, just the basic nuts and bolts?
I think legislatively you take what you can get.
Yeah.
You take the win when you can, but you also push for the other stuff. If you have to go budget reconciliation down the road, maybe you do that. But as part of a bipartisan thing, if that's the goal, of course you take what you can get.
Well, and right now, Rick, the Democrats are a bigger tent. You do have Joe Manchin to deal with. You do have Kristen Sinema to deal with. You don't even have to worry about the Republicans. I mean, you've got progressives, and then you have the Manchins of the world, and you got to find something to bring all of them together, or even with 50 votes, they can't shove anything through.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more down the list than that. You go to Mark Kelly, you go to the two from Virginia, you Tester. We can go down. I can probably name half of them who are who knows, and that's the problem.
But it's a nice problem to have, because the Democrats are, if you're a Democrat, you are a bigger working party right now than those crazy Republicans.
But what do you think of the pivot? Because over the last couple of weeks, we've been noticing the Republican Party trying to pivot away from corporate America because of the Zoom call they had over the voting rights in Georgia. All those corporate CEOs, talking about letting people vote. There's been this kind of pivot, the Republicans away from being so much the corporate party, and now they care about working people.
Well, you and I have talked about this. I don't think it will work. And maybe Biden was the only nominee that could stem the tide. But the Democrats do have one problem, and that one problem is they've been losing working class white voters, even to a piece of crap like Donald Trump. This is something Democrats really need to wrap their arms around. I think Biden can help a lot, again, if he focuses on jobs, bridges, roads, and the like.
No, I'm with you. And look, does this attack over the weekend of the Colonial Pipeline, does this help at all? When you start talking about infrastructure and how dependent we are on old school infrastructure that can evidently be fairly easily hacked and shut down. I mean, is this not a tailor-made argument for, hey, we need to rebuild our stuff?
Tailor-made argument, Rick, and a tailor-made opportunity for President Biden to lead on this. You're right, to bolster his case for infrastructure. But look, I'll bet you we're going to find out that Russia was behind this as well. And this president is going to have to prove to the American people that he is tough on Russia, unlike his predecessor. It's an opportunity for him.
Yeah, the question is, what do you do then? I mean, are you willing to start throwing things at each other? And most people I talk to, especially Republicans, not at all interested in taking on Russia because they think we're buddies.
Because the Republicans have a leader who works for Vladimir Putin. And again, I'm older than you, Rick, but in my lifetime, it wasn't always that way. You know, Russia, the Soviet Union used to be the bad guy and we were the good guy. That's completely flipped for Republicans and Trump.
No, I remember mutually assured destruction. I remember jumping under the desks because, hey, we're going to have a bomb drill and tornado. Evidently, the desks in Catholic school anyway, I don't know what anyone else did that, but evidently the desks that they had in Catholic school stopped everything: tornadoes, hurricanes, nuclear weapons. The desk was it.
I was there, Catholic school, Rick. I loved those old desks. I loved them.
I hated the nuns though, because we should have just sent the nuns to war, because some of the most vicious people.
They were tough. They were tough.
If I ever needed bodyguards, Notre Dame nuns, that's where I would go. So last question I've got for you, in looking at this, this Liz Cheney thing, it's another one of these distractions that's, I think, keeping us from the real points of why we need an infrastructure plan, why we need jobs plans, all of that. Do you see this happening quickly? Do you see it happen? I guess do you see this happen quickly?
I think there's a decent chance, Rick, that we get that Joe Biden signs an infrastructure package before the August recess. I also believe Joe Biden is being very smart politically. The Republican Party right now is an abject mess, and Biden is staying above the fray. What did he say last week? I don't know what's going on over there. He should assume that tone and just say, I'm here for roads, bridges, jobs, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it comes back to a quote that was attributed to Sun Tzu in The Art of War. I don't know if it's actually in there or not. I don't remember. But when your enemy's in the process of destroying himself, stay out of his way.
Amen. Amen.
Just let him go. Joe, I appreciate the time. It's always good talking with you. Always good having you on.
Love you, my friend. Thanks, Rick.
Good stuff. Our good friend Joe Walsh. Make sure you check out his podcast, the F Silence Podcast. fsilence.com is the website. We'll get links out on social media, how you can check that out. Always good to talk to him. Let's take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.